beautiful Monday morning. How are you doing? Thank you for tuning in. We welcome you to today's conversation, Motivation Monday. We will be talking about light at the end of the tunnel. My guest is already in studio. I will be introducing her to you in the next short while as we get to hear her testimony and what God has done in her life. Right now, let's take a look at the local dailies. What is making headlines today? Big story in the Standard newspaper. Agents of death. Reckless actions. Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi roamed for 2 weeks, exposing the public to danger after violating an order to self-quarantine, having come from a coronavirus-stricken country. Yesterday, defiant churches opened doors for Sunday service, oblivious of the risks to their members. It is such reckless actions that authorities blame for the spread of the deadly virus, as the number of confirmed cases in the country rose to 15, with 363 in contact with infected persons being traced, and now the government has rolled out mandatory tough measures to contain the scourge. And the new measures are outlined here. Churches and mosques closed, bars shut indefinitely, burials only for immediate family members who don't exceed 15, weddings have been banned, Kenyans and foreigners with resident permits coming into the country to be placed on mandatory quarantine in a government facility at own cost. Number 5, all international passenger flights have been halted. Anyone who refuses to self-quarantine will be forcibly isolated and prosecuted. Restaurants open for takeaway only. Matatus to observe directive, reducing number of passengers. That's the big story in the Standard newspaper. The Nation newspaper is also quite dramatic with their headlines this morning, and this is the story. It says, Church, the weak link. Well, I don't agree with that one, really. I think now that is just placing too much focus on the church, because it's not just the church. We have all been careless in many areas, whether it is in the matatus, in public spaces. Let me not even get into that conversation. It's not going to help anybody. Lambs for slaughter, throwing caution and common sense to the wind. Thousands of Kenyans flocked to places of worship yesterday, repeating the deadly mistakes of some of the countries that are now burying their dead by truckloads. The government yesterday banned all religious gatherings, among other stringent measures. Let's look in the Standard. What else is making headlines? There's the story of the church and the reckless Kilifi deputy boss who risked lives of many. You can take a look at that. There's quite a bit concerning the coronavirus. Kenya Airways whistleblower moved to new post. The whistleblower, who recorded a video of a Chinese plane carrying 239 passengers landing in Kenya amid coronavirus outbreak, now claims he has been transferred to another department. You can take a look at that. Corrupt Kenya may find it hard to survive economic effects of virus. Our country's biggest challenge has never been lack of funds, but wrong people arriving into wrong jobs with wrong intentions to abuse their offices and steal taxpayers' funds. I can guarantee you there's such truth in that statement. So there's quite a lot of information in the Standard newspaper about the coronavirus, where we are at as a nation, and what other nations are also doing and facing. So you can update yourself on that. I'm trying to find if there's anything else in here aside from the coronavirus pandemic. My health, the dark cloud over my head. Men share their daily struggles with depression. That's very interesting. You need to take a look at that. I can see my good friend Danish Odongo in the newspapers today. I showed up to work every day but was dying inside. Danish, I remember, was it last year but one? No, last year but one. Yes, I think it was last year but one. We had gone for camp in Mombasa, and I had an opportunity to sit down with him, and he shared with me his story. And it was one of those stories. This is somebody they're thriving in their career. Everything seems to be working out well for them. There was a time Danish was on every media station giving his opinions. He's a political analyst, and we thought everything was okay. Read his story in the Standard. Sitaki nikuambie kila kitu. And then there's quite a bit on sports. And what's going on in the world of sports amid this outbreak. Church, the weak link, like I said, big story, Daily Nation. But there's also another story in here that I want to highlight, if I can get to it. There's quite some updates on what's going down in Eastern Africa. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to highlight. New sheriff in town hits the ground running to rid city of garbage heaps. NYS trucks dispatched to Mudhurwa and Bama markets, as well as some estates to clear mountain refuse. And then there's a proposed solution: solid waste management master plan, waste collection and transportation, 3 R's: reuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle. There's a whole whatever there. You can update yourself and take a look at that on what's going to happen to garbage collection in Nairobi. And then getting to the counties, City Hall screening nets 7,819 bid to keep COVID-19 at bay, still on matters COVID-19. And then also virus deaths surge past 13,000 as 1 billion confined to homes, as from across the globe. The pullout is junior sport. It's all about nurturing talent, and then in the back pages, there's also quite a bit on sports. So those are some of the stories you will find in the local dailies this morning. Grab yourself a copy, keep yourself informed on what's happening both locally and also internationally. In the next few minutes, we have our Motivation Monday conversation, light at the end of the tunnel. But before we get into some music and that, let's take a look at today's weather. So, taking a look at the weather, my good people in Nairobi, we are looking at some possible thunderstorms in various places today with highs of about 25. Alafu tukielekea pande za Mombasani, you are looking at cloudy weather, possible thunderstorms, highs of 33. My good people in Flamingo County, Nakuru, you are also looking at cloudy skies today with highs of 29. And then Kisumu Dala, you are also looking at sunny skies actually in Kisumu today with highs of 33. And remember, as I always tell you, whatever your weather, make sure you carry your own weather on the inside, because it's the weather on the inside that determines how you feel on the outside. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We do appreciate your company. I have a text message here, thank you, saying thank you so much for your programs. You have really encouraged me so much. May God really bless you, for really we need to turn to God fully. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Alice, you're tuned in from Machakos this morning. It is good to know that you are there listening in and getting blessed. We appreciate your company. So, Motivation Monday, every Monday, we motivate you. Even in the midst of what we are going through, we need to motivate one another, encourage one another, stay positive, looking to God, because He is our ultimate source. He will get us through this one as well. So we can definitely say we will see some light at the end of the tunnel. In studio with me this morning, I have Ann Gladys Geshori, author, life coach, mentor. Nimesahau gani? Hizo ni sawa for now. It is good to have you in studio. Karibu sana.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You well?
Having me. Yes, I'm well.
Ulikuwa self quarantine nikakutoa ama wewe ulikuwa self quarantine?
Ninakaa nyumbani.
You're working from home.
Yes, I work from home.
I think this is the time for people like you, life coaches, mentors. You're doing a lot of Skyping.
Yes, quite a bit. Yes. We also have offices, but it's better to work from home now and be with the children as well. You know, they're home from school.
Yes.
Yes. So it's also a wonderful time of bonding and just being at home and being with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You've been through quite a bit in your life. And you have some stories to share that can encourage us today.
I really hope so.
I know they will encourage somebody. So let's talk about you one time went through postpartum depression. Talk to us a bit about that, because there was even an article in the papers today about men and depression. Depression seems to be quite a thing for quite a number of people, and sometimes I feel like we don't talk about it enough, and we don't give it the attention that it deserves. Sometimes we don't see it like a real issue. See you amke tu ende kazini. See you just, you know. So let's begin that story.
Now, I wouldn't quite call it postpartum because it was, in that case, to be very, very post.
Yes.
Because I've been through a couple of things and a couple of depressing periods in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I would start with the first one, like I can name them, then you can choose the one you want to focus on.
Okay.
So for example, my dad died at the age of, when I was 15. So that was really difficult to deal with as a young girl who is longing to be with her father.
Yeah.
and he's really not available.
Are you the firstborn?
I'm the second-born, but I'm the firstborn girl.
Aha.
So you know
Okay.
the bond that should be there.
Daddy's girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was such a gap, you know. So for me, that was a major blow, because although I tried to reach out to him and write him letters, because he was home and away, he wouldn't respond. And the only letter to which he responded, he said, "I can't make it to come home," you know.
Just that.
And that was really, really painful.
Yes.
And then after that, he dies. So any hope of ever having anything to do with him was very shattered, dashed, like it was not there anymore. So that was phase one of introduction to hard life. Yeah, in terms of emotionally and so on.
Yes.
Because my mom was there for us, very strong, very capable, and even after Dad died, she didn't remove us from our private schools and wherever we were. She's very, very strong.
Wow.
But then the dad gap is there, and you're feeling all sorts of things. The neighbors' kids are making comments. It's a whole new ball game altogether. Yes. It's one thing to say he will come or he was here. It's another thing when you have no answer to that. And then I was in high school, and I had to pretend like everything was well, because I didn't want to feel like I was less than anyone.
Yes.
Or not important enough, because I already felt very unimportant and very insignificant and invisible, because my own dad didn't have time for me.
Okay. Is there anyone who tried to address this issue in your life at that point? And was it even considered an issue to talk about?
I tried to be strong, so that was kind of hard for people to try and address.
Okay.
A couple of friends who stood with me were there for me in terms of the death, but not necessarily the gaps that were there even before the death, which magnify the death.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then now with trying to play it strong and cool, then people can't quite help you unless they see through you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a pretty difficult period, I would say. It made me very sad and depressed and even suicidal, even when I was in high school.
Did it affect your academic life?
Well, I should have been a straight A student completely, but I didn't get an A, or I got a B something. But it wasn't what I would have wanted to get. I would have done way better.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in primary, for example, I'd be number 1, 2, 3. One time I became number 4, and there was an emergency meeting. What is wrong, you know? So getting to a place where now I'm not at the top like that anymore, that was definitely, you know, some impact from that, I would say, because I was very shattered and down and all withdrawn and just feeling discouraged about everything and just barely making it through.
Yes.
But then after that, I think what I would say was really bad was many years later, like 10 years later, it really hit me that he had died.
10 years later?
Because I played strong, remember?
Oh.
So it hit me, and I started looking for a father figure.
Okay.
And that was crazy. I went to pastors, I went to people that I looked up to, believing they would say, "I'm here for you, just talk to me."
Yeah.
I don't expect them to be my father, really, but can I have someone who's there for me in one way or another? I remember going to one person who I really looked up to, and I believed he was a friend, he was there for me, he'd be there for me, and he said, "I have only one daughter." And then he said the name, and that crushed me.
Wow.
That finished me.
Why did he say that? What led to him saying that?
I don't know. I think I had gotten so much rejection in my life, I probably carried the spirit of rejection with me. Because that wasn't the first minister to just, you know, push me away and say, you know. I went to another one and I asked him, "Could you please be my father figure? I need a role model of some sort. I have a gap in my life and I'm being very vulnerable here."
Yeah.
He said, "You're my sister." I'm like, I am not even half your age.
Yes.
Be an adult in my life. Be
Yeah.
someone who can be there for me.
Yeah.
And I met quite a lot of those. So I went on searching. I remember one time I was so broken. I'm an adult, by the way, married.
Oh,
I remember one time.
when this is going on, you are...
No, eventually now I'm married.
Okay.
And being so broken, I wasn't able to go to work. I spent an entire day crying, just wailing, crying. My world had just shut down. And I started asking God for answers. Like, what is happening? Where are you? Why can't I get anyone? You know?
Was this a conversation you ever had with your mom?
Not quite, but eventually at some point, yes. Because I found someone who agreed to become my father figure, which was awesome.
Yes.
You know, like someone I could call dad. And because I remember we were texting and he said, but he's here, I'm here, you know? And I remember, remember those kabambe phones, those small, tiny things. So I remember writing the word dad, and then taking the cursor back to A, and writing A until the screen was full. I wanted to call out dad for all the times I hadn't called out dad.
Wow.
It was crazy, but it was exhilarating. It was like a dream come true. Someone I could finally call dad, you know? That was deep for me. I'll never forget him. I forever cherish him. It's crazy to have someone who can be there for you like that.
Yeah.
And of course,
what impact would you say this had in your life?
Restoration. Like, finally, I'm a human being. I'm important. I'm
What?
someone. I am alive. Like, I'm noticeable. I exist, you know?
Did any of your siblings go through the same journey? Or for them, they handle things differently?
I think the journey is there, but then I may not be at liberty to talk about them.
Okay,
you know?
okay, yeah.
Perhaps they would, but I may not really talk about them.
Okay,
yeah,
that's understandable.
But it was, I can't forget the times I would just have someone to text and call that. You know, of course, I'm very, very conscious of the fact that he has his family, he has his kids, but he's chosen to be there for me. And what I needed to know was that there was someone I could reach out to. Just that, just that. Just the knowledge that I wasn't alone, you know? So that for me was crazy, you know? And then now in my search, I had seen a lot of things. You meet ministers of the gospel who, yes, they will want to pretend they're your father figure for other reasons. And then when you say no, now you face another story. And hey, I'm telling you these people, yes. So when I decided now I'm going to be a mentor, I said I'm going to be there for all the girls. I'll answer all your questions. Please don't ask a man. Come and ask me and I will tell you. Because I know what you're going to go through, what you're going to face. The rejection, the fake acceptance, you know. And at the end of the day, not everyone is going to get someone like me who is going to agree to be there for you. And even then, there are limitations. You have to respect this person's wife, kids, life, the whole thing.
Yeah, boundaries you need to maintain as well.
But I was looking at it in terms of the pros and cons. I may not have one physical dad to call my own, biological, because he's dead, but I have a variety of people that I can look up to, reach out to, and get help. So I can get their positives without necessarily dealing with everything else. And also not pressuring one person fully, so I'm not really a burden to anyone. But after some time, then I came to realize that God is the best father. He'll never leave me, he'll never forsake me, best of all, he'll never die, you see? So that was for me the most special. And I remember looking at my life like that girl who had died in Mark chapter 5. And everyone had given up. Don't bother Jesus, you know, your daughter is dead, just give up and so on. And they were wailing and all. And what Jesus did is that he went up to her room, sat on her bed, held her hand, and told her, Talitha Kumi, little girl, arise, or daughter, arise. And for me, I feel that is what Jesus did for me. He went against the crowd, and then he came up to my room. Like, that was taboo. Guy in girl's room, like, how now? And sat on my bed, that is ridiculous. And then touched my hand. Like, how? It's a dead person. You studied the Bible. You're supposed to be taken out of the city because you've done something really wrong. Jesus went against all that, to the point of saying, Talitha Kumi, little girl, arise. You know? And it says, especially in the RSV version, that she got up and moved around and amazed everyone around her. And that's why I got the thing of amazing girl. You know, I am an amazing girl because Jesus did all that for me. And because of that, no more things in my life are now amazing because they would not even be there. During societal times, if I would have died, I would not even be here taking a cup of coffee with Jesus, you know, or breathing, or sitting, or eating. So every bit of my life, as it is right now, is amazing. But then, as though nature, the universe, I don't know what is this that is against us. 2015 was crazy.
It's the enemy.
Hey, me that one. The enemy doesn't even sound like a strong enough name. So fast forward to 2015, I'm married, I have a child and another child. So my baby boy is 10 and a half months old. And he passes away.
Oh my goodness.
And he's not sick. There is no history of anything. He is well now, and then he's not there. It's just crazy, you know? We wake up and he's not breathing very well. We rush to hospital. They test for everything, and everything is okay. There is no problem, but everything is shutting down one at a time.
Oh my
like
goodness.
that. And in about 21 hours, we do not have a son anymore.
He's gone.
Like that. Like that.
Ooh. Now that is tough. You know, it's
That
one
is
thing
tough.
to lose somebody, even though it's still hard, but when you have a bit of understanding that this is what is happening, this is what they're going through, this is why their body is shutting down. But when you're blind, you don't know what's happening, and it's that fast, I can't even imagine.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And even how God saw us through that period, it's crazy to imagine how we came out of it. Because we watched him die.
Many times I see people go through something of that magnitude, something that you don't understand. And one of the first things I see people do is they blame God. They go back to God, and the questions are, God, why did you allow this to happen? What kind of a God? If you are a God who is all about love, you know, this baby is innocent. What? Did you ever go through a season like that?
Mm-hmm. It was difficult.
Uh-huh.
Why, God? Why did it happen?
Mm.
What are we supposed to learn from this?
Yes.
Why did he die so young? And trying to get answers. So some of the answers that we tried to get for ourselves, to comfort ourselves, were that God is bringing him up. God is his father now.
Yeah.
He's doing a better job than we can ever do.
Yeah.
So he's helping us raise him. Another one was that God had just saved him from so much. He saved him from all the drama of this world, all the problems of teenage and adolescence,
Wow.
all the potential drug use and abuse, all the potential relationship heartbreaks, all the evil of this world, corruption, dust, you know, like God saved him from all that and took him to a perfect place. Because why else would he not be here on earth?
Yeah.
Yes, we love him,
Yeah.
but we can't give him perfection.
Okay.
God is giving him perfection. You know, because I tried asking myself, what if after all that he had gone through, he was going to be special? And I'm like, I'd still have wanted him. You know, he's mine.
Yeah.
But then, why did God choose to have him in heaven instead of here with us? And then the whole cycle of where do babies die when they go? So you're Googling all
Yes,
over
yes.
and wondering. But you know, someone told me recently that God is a God of the living. He's not a God of the dead.
The dead, yeah.
So Jason, my son, is not in my past.
No.
He's in my future.
He's in your future.
You know?
I love that.
Because at least we can't say he was a certain age, so he had an option to decide for the Lord and he didn't, so it's definitely, you know, hell. So he's a child, he has no understanding of these things. It's definitely heaven. So he is in my future.
Wow.
And that gives me so much hope. I want to live right, I want to do right by God so that I can go and see him.
I love
Well,
that.
I do want to see my dad, although he wasn't really there for me, but I want to see my son, you know. So when you see me trying to like live for the Lord and do everything I can,
Yeah.
hey, that boy, I had better see him.
Okay.
You know.
We'll get to talk about how you are able to go through that season, and also talk a bit about what you do mentoring others. And also you've written a couple of books. We also want to get to find out more about that. It's Motivation Monday. Light at the end of the tunnel is our discussion for this morning. Anne Gladys Gishohi, life coach, mentor, author, is in studio with us, sharing her testimony and encouraging us even through her journey. If you have any questions for her, 20316 is the SMS line. Maybe she is your mentor. It is time for you to say hi to her. Ajue unasikiza 20316 SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786316316. Motivation Monday, light at the end of the tunnel. In studio with me, mentor, life coach, author, and Gladys Kishoi, sharing her testimony with us. I have a message here that says, wow, good morning, Pasi. Thank you for bringing her. She is blessed to have looked for that father figure in church. Say I was brought up in the Catholic Church. I did not have that awareness then, but yes, now I want to really lean on our Father in heaven. The rejection spirit is so true. She has revealed another perspective that I had not seen in me when it comes to earthly fathers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Emma from Thika, you say you are following closely, and you are asking how old was she when her dad passed on. I think you said 15?
Yes.
Yeah, 15. So here we are. You say before we even get into how you are able to deal with all this, the story has not ended.
Imagine, no, sadly.
What?
So I lose my son,
Uh-huh.
and it's a blow to the family.
Definitely.
Then
Did this affect your marriage relationship, because I've seen couples who lose a child, and because husband and wife grieve differently, sometimes it brings friction, because sometimes you find the wife grieves outwardly a lot and the man goes into their cave to grieve, and then it begins to affect their relationship. I don't know if you guys ever went through that.
I think I can talk about some of what we went through.
Yeah.
And then for the other part, you'd have to come and explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thank God that we had a nice community around us, which encouraged us in good ways. So we actually went for counseling together.
Yes.
As a couple and as a family, now together with my daughter. Remember, we had to explain to our daughter what had happened. So, and she was with us in the hospital.
Yes.
So that was a whole different journey. My husband did most of that. It was because I was in another world. And it wasn't easy. But thankfully, step by step, God gave us people to walk with us.
Yeah.
And it was very, very helpful. So I would encourage actually people who've gone through grief, go for counseling. Go as a couple, because the two of you need to grieve as adults on your own, and get help for how to talk with your children about what has happened.
Yes.
And then go with your children as well, because the counselors are able to look at them, even though they're just playing in the room or drawing, and tell what's going on. And that will really help.
Yes.
So we went for counseling, and that was helpful for us. But in that whole period, so this is January, we lose and bury our son. Sometime in February, I would say I lose my best friend, in terms of now we are not best friends anymore, and she walks out. And this is the person who would be there for you at the most crucial moments.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
where you do all those crucial things together.
Yeah.
And she just walks out.
Why?
There's a bit of a misunderstanding, I would say,
Yeah.
or things that of course can't talk about on air.
Yeah.
And then I do not have her anymore.
Wow.
That is like another death. It's crazy, it's deep.
Because you grieve.
Then, a few weeks later, my wonderful employer decides, I think I'm done with you.
What?
Yeah, so hit the road, Jack. And this is between January and April.
Goodness.
And I have no job, I have no child, I have no best friend. And my hubby is also grieving.
Yes.
So this is just me alone, basically, because you can't create a new best friend suddenly.
No.
Because how?
You have invested years in this relationship, yeah.
I am telling you, life was hell.
Oh, my
Tangible hell, like a blanket that you can touch, and it's enveloping you, and it's dark, and I cannot begin to explain that darkness. It's blacker than any black thing I have ever known.
Oh my goodness.
It's awful. It makes you want to kill yourself. It makes you want to die 1,000 times and never exist. In fact, it makes you to never want to have ever existed or been thought of or created. It's horrible.
Did anybody have any idea what you were going through?
No, that's the problem. I'm a pastor's wife.
Yes.
I am a leader.
my
I have all
goodness.
these nice positions.
Yes.
So of course I'm doing fine. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Of course I'm doing fine according to everyone.
Oh my goodness.
I am taking TV interviews. I'm taking radio interviews. All right.
Yeah.
There is only one person who saw through a TV interview, and she wrote to me and told me, those questions you have had, those things you refuse to answer, what's going on? Are you okay?
Wow.
And I was like, who are you? How do you see that? You know?
This is somebody you don't know?
No, we are friends.
Okay.
But I'm like, we're
yeah.
not friends like that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't possibly care that much.
Yeah.
You can't, you know? And for me now, that said to me, if I meet with someone, even if you're a stranger,
Yes.
and I feel like you have, you know, those tears over here.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
be like,
balancing them.
what's up?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like that. I'd rather ask you, and then there's nothing wrong. Maybe, I don't know, you had smoke in your eyes, or you're carrying an onion in your bag. It's fine. But I'd rather ask you and be wrong.
You're
than
carrying
not
a what?
An onion.
In your bag?
Now, Siji, we are losing weight. Yeah, garlic, ginger, whatever. So I'd rather be wrong.
Yeah.
But let me ask you. Let me let you know that someone sees you, that you exist, that you matter, you know?
I love that. I have to share this. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, so I go to church on Sunday, and we have church as kawaida, and then we go back home. And then this friend of mine from church, he's also a pastor, he's one of our pastors, he sends me an SMS later on in the evening, and he asks, Pastor Jemu, are you okay? Today you are very quiet. Today you didn't hang out with a lot of people. It's not like you. How can I pray with you? I mean, that one, I felt like it had solved half the problem. That he noticed and he reached out. And sometimes I think we don't understand the power of just reaching out. You may not have the solutions like you're saying, but just the fact that you cared enough to notice and to say something about it, it is a good thing. Yeah.
It is. Well,
So did you answer her?
I did. And we became very good friends. A friend with whom you can have a genuine conversation, black and white.
Okay.
You know, not pretending, oh, I'm okay. If I'm not okay, I'm not okay. Period. You know, and then it's dealt with from there.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't say that there are many friends like that who can see through the mask. And then, because sometimes you try to give a hint, hoping someone important, you know, and they don't. Then eventually you learn how to hide it completely. So if someone sees through that, you want to keep that person close.
Very true.
And you want to do the same for other people as well. So there's a question you asked earlier. How did I handle this?
Yeah.
When I lost my dad, I played very strong. I was not going to shatter. I was going to be, you know, so I put up a facade and I handled it and I was okay. But then when it hit me like many years later, fresh, I was like, no, this is not worth it. So when I lost my son, I decided I'm going to cry every day, if I have to, 10 times a day. However it comes, I am going to just let it out.
Yeah.
If I feel something, I'm going to talk about it.
Yes.
And because, well, I didn't have my best friend, then I started vlogging about it. I had a blog from 2009, and, you know, I'd write a lot of stuff. But this time I was like, okay, dear hubby, can I please do this? I won't talk about you. And just, can I, for myself? And I started. So I would just write and write and write. And so many people would identify with that. Some would comment online. Some would just inbox me. But I thought that was one way of doing it. Being real about it. Being very open. Not necessarily to other people, but to myself.
To yourself.
I am not okay today. Or this morning is hard, but this afternoon is better. Like, you know, being very real, seeking help, going for counseling, expressing myself and saying when I can and when I can't. Like shortly after I lost my son, I went for an interview, a job interview, because I think I started sensing trouble on this other side. So when I went for the interview, I told them, I'm here. It's 1 week after I've buried my son, but I'm here. So this interview might go south, but well, I'll try. And I was very open. At all the levels of the interviews that I went to, I was just open like that. And even when I was at work, when I'd feel bad, I'd just leave the office for a while. Go to the ladies' room, cry my heart out, or go to the field and cry, then come back and continue working, and just being very, very open about what's going on.
Okay.
I'd say for me that really helped.
So is this the season that you began taking writing seriously?
No, I've been writing since high school.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My first book was when I was in Form 4.
Oh.
Yes. I used to write like a chapter a day, like that, until, you know, now. I had said to myself I'd write 1 book every year. Remember, I tried to kill myself in high school. It didn't work.
Yes.
So my first book was actually about suicide. I didn't quite get to publish it. I was told I'm too young to know all this stuff. So go get famous or go get old. Go write with Teddy Jakes or go get old, and then now we can publish your work. Because you don't see it. Okay, you know a lot, but who's going to read you? And I'm like, I am the person going through this. I don't even have to read a psychology book. I know the pain. I feel it. It's me. So anyway, so I've been writing for quite a while.
Okay.
But writing therapeutically for myself at that time was wonderful. Eventually translated into a book about losing my son, which encourages very many mothers. But something else I did, in addition to being real, is try to look at the positives and gain something from it. What can I learn? Maybe it's not just for me. Maybe it's for someone else as well. Can I be a worthy vessel? You know, vessels of honor, clay, whatever. Can I be at least useful somehow in the kingdom of God by sharing my story? Instead of whining, and then what? what value does that add? Because I knew now I had a place I could go to and get encouragement.
Yeah.
So why not pass it on to other people?
Very true.
I also tried to deal with it in ways that weren't particularly helpful. Oh yeah, another good thing is I read books. Some of my friends came and brought me books, recommended books, and that was beautiful. It was very healing to know that someone else was grieving as I was grieving.
Yeah.
But then I tried to look for help in movies and series and just hiding, escaping.
Yes.
Escaping doesn't
Escapism.
help. It doesn't really help. It mutes the pain for a while,
Yeah.
but the pain is still there. Once
still
the
there.
series is over,
Yeah.
it's still there.
Yeah.
But then there are some good movies that you can watch that will help you cry. You know, there are sad movies, they will encourage you, but they also have death places where someone dies or, you know.
Yeah.
And they were really helpful.
Okay.
Because they help to show where my child went or what happened. You know, it's nice to watch them actually, but not to rely on them.
Okay.
Because we should go to God for the solutions we need.
Very true.
No amount of counseling or book reading or movies or whatever is going to do what God can do for you directly.
That's true.
The power of prayer,
Yes.
the power of an intimate walk with God. Because at the end of the day, it's just you and God. Even though I'd cry at night and my husband would put his hand on me and just encourage me through the night, after he sleeps, what happens? You know, it's only God
Yeah.
in that special place.
Yeah.
You know, it says in the Bible, I will never leave you nor forsake you.
Very true.
I am with you wherever you go. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand.
Yes.
And even Psalm 23,
Yeah.
you know, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, because now that's something I faced a couple of times, I will not be afraid because God is with me, his rod and his staff. And in the Bible, when you read about the staff, it's where the Israelites would mark what God has done for them.
Yeah.
So I would check, he took me through this, took me through this, took me through this. So I would see that. Then the rod would guide me slowly, you know, like toka kwa series, toka kwa movies, back to the Bible.
Back
you
to
know?
the word.
And the staff would tell me, I've
Yeah.
done this for you, I've done this, I've done this. And when
Okay.
I look back, I can see, this happened.
Yeah.
Because again, by God's miracle, after 2 weeks of losing my job, I got another one immediately. Like in 2 weeks' time, it's like God was giving me a break to
Yes.
breathe and then now get into a new job. And this new job was really awesome. First of all, I wasn't working on Mondays. Then I could go to the office at 9 and leave when I would leave, you know. Then my job was preaching and mentoring young people.
Yes.
And then it was a bit far from where I used to stay, where I'd been fired. So I was driving to work at 9, like passing my former colleagues, you know. It was just, God put such a glory on me.
Yes.
Even though I was still going through a hard time.
Yeah.
But he made it so beautiful. Like, Yani, he had a plan all along.
Imagine.
You know?
Imagine.
And then now in that job I went, then I got promoted, now to management. Like, it was so nice. But it's only because of working with God.
I like
And
that.
at the end of the day, if there is anything I would tell anyone going through whatever, big or small, is go to God in prayer. When we say that, especially from a ministerial perspective, it looks like we are shunning people. We're
Yeah.
telling them we don't want to be there for
Yeah.
you. But let me tell you, the best help anyone can give you is to teach you how to pray. Even if prayer is God, God, God,
Yeah.
and there's nothing else you can say.
Yeah.
When you develop that personal relationship with God and you're able to call out to him, you know, he hears us and the Holy Spirit groans for us better than we can for ourselves.
Yeah.
You will develop a certain independence from people so that you find that you're not so broken when people walk away from your life. You find that you have a strength to go through life
Yeah.
that you would not have gotten in any other way.
That's
And it's
true.
in private, it's right in the core of your life. So even if you're in a dark place alone, you have that direction. You will hear a voice in your ears, this is the way, walk in it.
Okay, in it.
You will hear that all the time. If you practice talking with God all the time.
Wow.
Because no amount of help, like even if someone encourages you, they can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
Even I will mentor people, but eventually a storm will come. Do you think I'll have the same intensity
No.
towards their
No,
issue?
no.
You know? And everyone is human like that. Even the biggest bishops, they have issues. You know, everyone like right now is looking for money for food, for clothing, for whatever. So no one can carry you like that the way God can.
Yeah.
There's a high school teacher who somehow, indirectly, but I think it was her goal, taught me to rely on God and not on her. She was working with me through my suicide drama and
Yeah.
all. And her way of doing it was to direct me to God, not to direct me to herself. She was awesome and everything. It would have been very easy to idolize her and to want to be with her all the time. And I try to reduce that when I'm working with people. I will lead you to God. You may not like it very much in the beginning, but the moment you learn that He's the only one you can stand with day and night, it's the biggest gift I will have given anyone.
Wow. And Gladys, our time is up. I'm hearing voices in my head. My producer is saying we need to wrap up. What would your parting shot be to that individual who's watching us and they're going through a season, or even to just everybody who's going through this coronavirus season?
Let's turn to God. He will carry us through.
Yes.
If He can carry me through those deaths, all of that betrayal, all of that crazy pain, there is nothing He can't do. If He can deliver me from the jaws of death itself, having tried suicide, like you're there, you've tried, you're going, almost gone, and He brings you back. If He can do that for me, like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? If He cares that much for me, then He will care for any and everyone else. So let's just turn to God.
Awesome. Asante sana.
Asante. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Let's turn to God. I love that. I don't think I need to add anything to that because God is our source. He has all the answers to every problem we could ever face on this earth. That's all the time we have. I hope that this story today has really encouraged you as much as it has encouraged me. Tomorrow we'll be having Parenting Tuesday, and children are home and there are all these online platforms where they're supposed to learn. How practical is that? Is that working? Are things different on the ground? That's the conversation we will be having tomorrow. Otherwise, thank you so much. Remember, my friend, let's maintain the highest standards of hygiene. Let's comply with what we are being told to do. It is for our own good. Let's stop arguing and pointing fingers. Let's start offering solutions in every space that we find ourselves in. Thank you. Take care and have a good day.